marijuana and correlating it to how
Yeah,
nicotine.
we'll get on that, and then I'm going. We're gonna get on that, and then I'm
going home.
Yeah, and then I'm going home. I'm taking a break. With this weather, I think I'm gonna go home, play some video games, and just relax. Turn in early tonight.
Hopefully, be dry.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get home in between the raindrops.
Alright, let's go live. Episode's ready.
How's it going out there, people? Getting set up for our next live. We're already being lively today, me and JR.
We always are lively.
I don't know, last couple days I just think I need a break because I've been irritable. He's really pushing my buttons. Which is okay. It's okay. It is what it is. But I put a lot of videos out these last couple weeks. I think I need to just take a little break and promote those videos. Ah, you're sitting over there live now?
I'm gonna be ready any minute.
Yeah.
Any second.
See if the mics are good.
I gotta get them plugged in. Just give me a second.
How's everybody doing out there, Podcast Nation?
Facebook Nation.
I hope the weather is nicer where you're at than what it is here. It's kind of gloomy and dreary and rainy outside, but this guy over here, he loved Seattle for the rain. So
I did love Seattle for the rain.
So for him, he's at home right now. But for me, seasonal affective disorder, so when it gets cloudy enough, I feel a little irritable, a little under the weather. That's why I'm going to go home and enjoy my afternoon after we do this video.
Something about rain to me is therapeutic.
Therapeutic.
To me.
Alright, let's go ahead and cut this beautiful song off. There we go. We got the mics up and running.
I'm grabbing a Red Bull.
He's getting a Red Bull. Again, it's Red Bull. You need a Red Bull? Have a Red Bull. Alright, so anyway.
I need so much more caffeine. I don't got enough energy.
Right. Alright, well, the Recovery Atheist here. I'm here at the Wierman Media Studios. Trey Entertainment, the two brothers. Deciding that we're going to do another video here. I don't think this one will be as lively as the gun control, because I think when it comes to our topic, we have a lot of the same ideas when it comes to it, and that's the legalization of marijuana in this country. Now, if you live in Colorado, Washington, California,
Lived in both named puppies.
all those states that have it legalized across the board for the states, even though it's still against federal law, you kind of understand where we're going with this. Minnesota, we've had it on the docket for the last couple of years to look at passing for it to be legal.
I think it's about time.
You actually turned it off. You hit the switch to turn it off, I think.
Some beach, I'll kick. I got you.
So anyway, if you didn't, then I just got to turn the monitor back on.
Fuck, I fucked it up.
That's all right. No worries. Oh, look at that.
Fired. He's fired. The boss is fired.
This is why we need an intern.
I'm fired. Yep, we're getting it. But I'm fired, folks.
This is, yeah, why don't you pull that a little bit closer to you?
I'm fired.
Go ahead, talk. What are your feelings on the whole legalization?
So legalization is quite the topic, really, if you think about it. I think legalization is an exact example of rigid bureaucracy versus like innovation and evolution and growth. And businesses and companies that are unwilling to let things change and grow, it's the primary example of that, because it's time to let it happen. It's time to let it run its course. It's working effectively in many other states, and we're going to dive deeper into this topic about the addiction rates of these things and about the legalities and the reasons it's rational and the reasons people say it's irrational and so forth. So we're going to keep diving deeper into these topics, ideas, and solutions, and we're going to throw it back and forth between me and Del. Ultimately, I think if you look at the most addictive substance out there, it's nicotine. One of the most addictive substances in the world is nicotine. and it's legal. So if someone wants to sit and argue or debate how addictive marijuana is, well, let's just look at the two most common forms of substances that are consumed in America, nicotine and alcohol. And let's audit those, because those are killing hundreds of thousands of people, and they are incredibly addictive, incredibly negative. So if alcohol and nicotine are legal,
Correct.
if something with a medical benefit, proven medical benefit, is illegal, that just doesn't make any sense. It's been proven now. It's to the point where people need to let go and start letting innovation take its course, and change and growth and evolution, and start to grow. But the thing is, we have all these people that are rigid and bureaucratic, especially with laws and legislation and baby boomers, that aren't. They're the slowest to change. They're the slowest to evolve and grow and accept change. They're like, I don't want to change. I don't want to accept change. I want it to be the way it was forever. I don't want to. And it's just the reality that if we don't change and let things grow and evolve, and we don't merge with technologies, and we don't merge with certain ideas and concepts, our laws and legislation need to change.
Yeah, I mean...
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, we got everything all set up nice.
Thanks, brother.
Working nice. Got the new studio lighting going on, so we get the nice natural light.
Yeah, get my good side.
Yeah, definitely.
Which one's...
I don't know. Which one is it?
I don't know.
Maybe the ass.
Yeah, probably.
To the women,
best side.
to the women, his best side is the ass side. But so when it comes down to it, you look at what is legal out there. It's been going back since back in the day with the movies, like back in the 20s and 30s, like Reefer Madness and everything like that, to where they had all these
Detroit Rock City.
Right, they had all these propaganda films.
That lettuce, that devil lettuce.
About how weed is so wrong, and it's going to kill people, and you can be a murderer if you're smoking it, and all this. And a lot of those propaganda films were brought out because of the paper companies, the tobacco companies. They were worried about losing consumption, getting money in by people consuming their products, because hemp can be used for paper, can be used with clothing. The oils are essential. There's many ways that you can use it, and so they had the propaganda against it.
That light sucks.
Well, it's because you're not pulling it close enough to you, and you keep moving. You won't sit still.
That's wrong. I don't sit still.
Yeah, obviously. So you had all those propaganda films, and so today you look at it, and it's like, really, we can have alcohol and we can have tobacco, and we talked about this. Tobacco, 500,000 people per year.
500,000 folks
die from tobacco, and alcohol is also way high.
We didn't look it up. We will, but alcohol, I'm sure,
it's
the impacts of drunk driving, it's got to be
up there. So you look at that, and that can be legal, but yet there is still not one death certificate that has ever been signed that said the official cause of death, marijuana.
And I just think it's a great topic. I'm going to always come back. So what I believe in is rigid bureaucracy is not the solution. It's insurgent characteristics, and that's what is all about how you overcome the growth complex. The growth complex is the complex that complexity is the silent killer of growth. And if I'm rigid and I'm bureaucratic, our law and legislation is the most rigid bureaucratic form of anything. There's nothing more rigid and bureaucratic than law and legislation. So this is a great example of me to tie it into what I talk about all the time.
Right.
Because in order for things like this to be implemented, we have to have the law and legislation have to make a change and happen and accept it. But our politics and our laws and our government is incredibly rigid and bureaucratic. They don't accept change. They don't grow and evolve. They don't, we were talking about guns the other day. It's time to look at that, like Del said. That was back when they had muzzle loaders. So by the time I was done loading the gun, I was probably not as angry or as impulsive. And they didn't have a Glock. There's one of the Glocks that's a handheld machine gun.
Yeah,
it's a
semi-automatic.
handheld machine gun.
Yep.
Gun. So they didn't have these things. So it's time to look at the laws now and be like, okay, it's time to maybe implement a couple changes. But I think that's my point, and that's what I'm going to keep tying it back into, is that when we change and grow and things change and grow and technologies come around, the law and legislation has to start moving and changing at a faster pace.
All right, so when we look at some of the pros and cons when it comes to the legalization, of course there's lots of people on the cons that will say it's going to cause more crime, it's going to cause this and that, and that is not true. That is actually not true, and if you look in Colorado, their crime rate has gone down since the legalization of it. So one of the major pros that there is the dismantling of the black market.
Number one.
Yeah.
Taking the power and control.
You're taking away the drug dealer, the organized crime, the cartels, the mafia, mob, whatever you want to call
Which
it.
arguably this alone, Del, I think could be enough of a reason.
Right.
The cartels, you guys. We're talking about taking the power from the people that are beheading people, shooting and killing people, and it's throughout the world that it's happening.
Well, and because of that, what ends up happening is there ends up being government dispensaries and head shops that way to have it. And because it's now a government-controlled situation where it's been legalized, you're able to deal with improved quality and safety control of the weed you're smoking, of the marijuana you're smoking. A lot of the marijuana you get today off the streets, you just don't know what it is. Sometimes it can be laced, other things like that. So the government would be able to control the actual contents, the actual THC levels and things of that nature to be able to make sure it's safe for individuals to use.
Thanks for being with us, audience.
But it also goes... by the way, we've got a comment over here from Kelly. She's going LOL.
Hey, Kelly, you're probably laughing at the lights. Yeah, I know. That was my fault,
laughing
Kelly.
at lettuce or whatever. But no, yeah.
Laughing at lettuce.
Laughing at the lettuce. But, I have a feeling it was over you, crashing my head with the light. It literally came down. And anyway. So the other biggest thing, though, this is the one that really gets me, and in Colorado it definitely has helped there, is the tax revenue.
And I've lived in both. Let me interject, Del. I've lived in Denver and Seattle since they've done this.
Right, and so the increased tax revenue, they have been able to take their budget and have a huge surplus to where it goes back into schooling,
education,
back into infrastructure, back into the citizens that are there because of it. This is the biggest, we talk about the black market and everything and getting the crime element out of it, but to me, this is the biggest selling point.
What if we can start, exactly, just off this alone, you can start giving away free college. This correlates with everything we talk about. This is why I love this shit, Del, because now you're just checking off all the pros to legalizing marijuana. There's really nothing to me negative about it compared to it being illegal. Jailing people, imprisoning people, punishing people. It's time to grow and change and evolve, and our legislature needs to accept it. I've lived in Denver, I've lived in Seattle, and not only the positives were for everywhere you looked, it was the green rush. When I was in Seattle and Denver, there was jobs everywhere. There was construction going on everywhere. Because of the legalization, there was literally booming in every industry because there was more people, more of a demand for jobs, more of a demand for building, more of a demand for housing, and it was just incredible to see.
Yeah, so when you look at it that way, we're making money off cigarettes. We're making money off alcohol. These are killers. They're killing people.
And let's not forget pharmaceuticals.
Oh, yeah. How much money they're making off that
fucking Dilaudid, fentanyl, oxycodone,
they're making
Percocet.
So much money off that,
All of them. Name them.
So you look at it, and each one of those we're mentioning have high death rates that are going on.
Heroin is opiates are the number one
killer
in America.
Why don't we start using something? Because remember, when it comes to marijuana, it's not just about the smoking qualities that it has and getting you high. It can be used to make paper. It can be used to make rope. It can be used clothes.
It's just never ending.
Hemp oil is an essential oil that can be used in many different ways.
Amazing point.
It has so many different qualities to it. And then let's get to the health issue of it. It comes to people with AIDS, people with cancer, and other sicknesses. Seizures, and again into mental health.
Gosh.
Mental health-wise, it is a known scientific fact that it helps with depression. It helps with sleep issues, insomnia.
So it's time for it not to say no more,
anxiety.
That there's no medical benefit. The federal classification Del.
There is so many medical benefits. Even my dad, a minister, with his pain that he deals with 3 hip replacements, would be better off having THC and having marijuana to be able to deal with that pain than sitting there with some kind of an opiate to be able to handle it.
So here's my point when I think about all this. So not only were those Del amazing points, think about the industries for farming. Imagine it's not just the jobs for people that are working in the dispensaries, transferring it, making it, and growing it, but then all the manufacturing that can come from it. It's farming, it's manufacturing, it's medical, it's everything. But my thing I want to touch on quick is my mom died. She had lupus, she had rheumatoid arthritis, she had severe scoliosis, she had 2 hip surgeries, a knee replacement, and a shoulder replacement by the time she was 43. And I have observed firsthand that if someone has a suppressed appetite from loads of narcotics, someone that's 5 foot and 110 pounds that's taking taking 8 Dilaudid a day with 150 micrograms of fentanyl is not going to have an appetite. And the number one measures of someone's health is your appetite. And the number one thing I would have loved to have seen is her on medical marijuana, because it would have pushed her appetite up. How is someone ever going to be healthy that doesn't eat? And you can't eat when you're suppressed.
You got it. For your immune system, you have to be able to eat. That's why they give weed, medical weed, to AIDS patients, cancer patients.
It supplements your...
It helps them. Without them eating and getting the nutrition that they need in their bodies,
no chance.
Their immune systems are going to fail.
You have no chance.
Because you look at, with both AIDS and with cancer, the medications that they're taking are pretty much a poison.
And suppressing the appetite.
Right. It's a poison that they're putting into your body, so your immune system's already being challenged by dealing with that.
The sickness.
And then you got the sickness in you as well, the cancer, the AIDS in you as well that your body's fighting, and then you're not eating?
You're fucked.
You're fucked.
You might as well write your death date.
You're fucked.
I watched it. My mom died. I was like, she never ate. You see it, especially once she was getting closer, but yeah, your appetite has a direct correlation with your health.
Right.
And I saw it, so I think that's one of the number one things that's interesting to look at between narcotics and marijuana is suppression of appetite, and then supplementing someone's hunger and their appetite in looking at the correlation between health and a diet that is healthy and a like an appetite for food. Right. And I think that's interesting because a lot of people that take narcotics, it just destroys your appetite.
One last pro that I want to throw in there. We've talked about it before. Someone who has a couple pounds of weed on them in some states can get 2 years, up to 2 years in jail. Sitting in jail for 2 years with someone with a sexual assault on somebody could get less than that and be out in less time. We are wasting time and money of our court systems to put people that are small-time weed dispensaries.
Yeah.
When we could have it legalized. We're filling jails up with people that are nonviolent. You know, when it comes to weed, I get so tired of hearing it. Weed is a victimless, outside, if it was legalized, it would be a victimless crime. It wouldn't even be a crime. But when it comes down to it, the people that you're selling that to, you're not forcing them to buy it. They want the product. But we're putting these people in jail, and we're letting people who are more violent in sex offenders and assaulters, and people who assault and all that, we're letting them out sooner. By legalizing it, it allows police and the courts to focus on the more violent crimes and making sure we're taking care of that, instead of every other stop they make is some stupid, well, yeah, they had a couple joints on them, so we had to arrest them and take them in and fill another spot in the jail. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
I've been there.
It's ridiculous. Someone who smokes weed, I'm not afraid of. Okay, it's not someone I think that needs to be sitting in some jail cell somewhere while these other guys are out here just walking around being violent and doing everything like that.
Let's face it, alcohol is more of a...
I've done more stupid things on alcohol than I ever have
on any marijuana. Substance. I've done the dumbest things on alcohol more than anything.
Meth, I've done some stupid things on meth.
But let's look at alcohol and fighting. So let's look at marijuana is a suppressor of violence.
Exactly.
It suppresses it. It doesn't promote it. People that get drunk, they get more aggressive.
What does Cat Williams call it? Cat Williams, the comedian, he says, when I smoke weed, I get happy, sleepy, and hungry. That's what I get.
Man, it doesn't sound like anyone's going to fight anymore.
Happy, sleepy, hungry. That's what he gets.
So let's look at some of the main crimes in America. Domestic assault and DUIs. Well, golly.
Yeah, domestic assault, just the whole domestic situation.
And the correlation.
The correlation to it. How many of that is dealing with weed? Okay,
exactly.
It's either meth or a lot of it's alcohol. It's fueled by alcohol. This has gotten such a bad rap, and it's all propaganda when it comes to it. Okay, the way I look at it is if you can smoke a cigarette, smoke a joint. And I truly believe this. If more people did, I think we'd be in a happier place.
So marijuana is a Schedule I narcotic.
Yep, classified Schedule I.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is completely off base.
It's way off base.
Look at this is the definition. It's a class 1. It's the drug or other substance has a high potential for abuse. The drug or substance has no currently accepted medical use in treatment in the United States.
Bullshit.
It's completely proven wrong. There is a lack of accepted safety for use of the drug or other substance under medical supervision. Sorry to say, it's all been proven wrong.
It's all been debunked.
It's all been debunked.
It's all wrong.
And look how slow they are to accept it and implement it. And like you said, generate the tax revenue, generate the jobs, generate the farming.
Again, it comes down to it is the lobbyists and the people that are against it. They are facing losing money by having that declassified. By having that go down to where they can make money off it, it's going to pull money from other areas, like the pharmaceutical companies, so this shows that America is not a democracy of people; it's a democracy of dollars. It's a great example.
How much can you pay the lobbyists? Because ultimately, if they were about the people, they'd be like, "Oh, this substance. What if there's so much we don't even know about cannabinoids still? What if there's a cannabinoid mix that fixes cancer? Like, what if the research goes in and all of a sudden they find a mix of cannabinoids that fixes fucking cancer? We don't even know. Like, there's so much positive to come from research into cannabinoids that we don't even. But we've proven that it medically has a benefit. So I just think it's absolutely absurd that if there was something that could help the people recover from any kind of mental or physical ailments within the substance, why wouldn't our government be about giving it to the people? They are suppressing it because they're not about the people, they're about the fucking money.
That's the whole thing. I mean, they'll do the research when it comes to narcotics like opiates and Oxycontin and everything because they know they can make a hell of a lot of money off of it and control it and force you to have to pay those prices.
And if you look at the R&D on they spend a lot, don't get me wrong, but the percentage of the money spent on R&D is actually minute. They spend more on advertising, more on marketing.
Well, let me ask you this. I've talked to you about this. I take the Vivitrol shot. It's a alcohol anti-craving. It's also for opioids.
I know several people that
it's $1,800 a shot. It's $1,800 a month. Do you really think that thing costs that much to manufacture?
This is the point about everything in America. Medical and education should not be about profit. It should be about building our people up. It should be about, this person needs a shot to stay alive. How can we fucking make money off that? That's immoral. And if this person wants to get more educated so they can better provide for their family and be a better citizen of our nation, why should they be in mass amounts of debt to do that? It just doesn't. To me, it contradicts a democracy that is supposed to be about the people. We the people for the people. We're sorry to say it's time to audit that and say we the money for the money. So it's like the 1%ers, we the money for the money. And I just think
sorry, just a second here. Let me get out of there.
I think it's just ridiculous, and it's a primary example of people that are about money and law and legislation, and it's time to start pushing our law and legislation to change.
Okay, so my buddy Uday, him and I worked at Kroger's down in Georgetown, Kentucky. He came. He's a good buddy of mine. He came on, and he's a fisherman too. Loves to fish. He came on and said that fucking Nixon and the people in his ear ruined it for everyone.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Nixon had played a major role in it, but if you look at it, it's everyone following Nixon has also played a major role. It hasn't
really applied to it either. But I just want to say thanks, Uday, for coming on and commenting and being a part of the show. Yeah, Nixon definitely played a role in it. And some of the recording snippets from him saying the N-word and everything else like that, he was definitely someone that was not a good influence on what the country was trying to go for, especially at that time, back in the Revolution times. So he definitely didn't help the situation. It mainly started way back in the 30s, 20s, and 30s where the real propaganda got started, and it's just been kept going and going and going. I would have loved to have lived in the 60s because it was new. A lot of people were smoking it. It was more out there. You had even police officers, smoking it when they were protesting. There's many videos of that. It was just more of a, let's, love, not war kind of a feeling.
Let's fight. Let's unite, not fight.
Right, and I really wish we could get some of that back. People ask me all the time, if you could go back in a time machine, what era would you go back to? And it's easily the 60s.
That's an interesting point. I would stay where I am.
I would like to go back and see the 60s.
I wouldn't want to lose the technology. Science has proven that.
No, I'm not saying I'd go back there to stay. I'd say I would go back there to see it because it was just a different mindset. at that time compared to what it is today.
That's a great point, Don. I think that's a really cool point because I've always watched the Hell on Wheels. If you ever watch it, it's the first installation of the railroad by the Pacific Northwest, and what was something else?
With all the Chinamen that are making the railroads and stuff.
Yeah, and the race to the west. It was
so racist.
It would be such a great time to me. I thought to be.
That's where you would like to go check it out.
Just to experience, because it was such a more simplistic life, and it was like. And if you had, there was a lot of opportunity back then. Like, if you were building the railroad, you got X number of miles around that railroad. So, like, if you went out and started building, you could claim the land around it. It was like, to me, it was really an exciting time in American history when they built the railroad from the East Coast to the West Coast and connected the West Coast and everything.
You know where I'd like to go to really just sum it up, because I'm the recovery atheist? I'd love to go back to the time of Pontius Pilate.
Interesting.
And go back there and be like, okay, show me where Jesus is.
I just think it's a bunch of bullshit. I don't ever have any interest in that because I know it's a bunch of bullshit.
I know it is too, but I would love to go back there and just start shit that way. Okay, show me Jesus.
I'm just waiting for the day that someone starts to say that Jesus is back.
Woo! Woo! That's gonna cause some waves in this country.
But ultimately, it's interesting that point I want to correlate is the quality of life now. If you read about it in books, it's actually proven based on the quality of life, the quality of living, the quality of health care, the quality of the technologies we have, and the infrastructures we have, that life statistically has never been better. So I love life right now. I just think it's my number one way of telling if how in touch with reality a lot of people are when I talk to them is I like to look at how grateful they are to be alive right now, because really it's never been easier to live. Life has never been more comfortable. Obviously, COVID is a little challenging, but I just think it's a really key point. But I think that's cool, Della. I've always thought about going back to that time. So,
all right.
Have you watched the Hell on Wheels?
Oh yeah,
it's a great show.
Oh yeah, it's a good show. I love the lead character, the guy with the long hair and the beard and stuff. He's a
stud,
cool dude in that one. But anyway, so Minnesota is in the process right now of trying to pass a statewide bill to allow recreational marijuana to be used. It says, and this is coming out of May this year, May 6th of 2020, so it's on the docket for the next time that they open up Congress or open up the state for it. If it's passed, the bill would allow Minnesota adults 21 and older to possess and transport up to 1.5 ounces of marijuana and 8 grams of the, what is it called, the dab, the cannabis concentrate.
THC concentrate.
Yeah, the dabs is that's the name for it. In public places, you can keep up to 10 pounds at your private residency.
That's a lot of dope.
That's a lot of dope, man. Adults could grow up to 8 marijuana plants at home, up to 4 of which could be mature flowering plants. Gifting small amounts to other adults would also be legal.
Sounds common sense to me.
It sounds like that to me. That would be amazing. It says a variety of cannabis businesses would be allowed under the proposal, including retail delivery.
So here's the thing about me that I vision. Once it's legal like tobacco, I lived in Hawaii, right? Imagine a fucking Hawaii dope field where people can tour it and come on vacation, and just like you'd sample, like a brewery. You go in a brewery and you tour it, and you sample the different liquors and alcohols. Imagine when you fly into Hawaii, you have 8-foot, 10-foot, 16-foot, huge monster. Marijuana is a beautiful plant.
It is.
Sorry to say, there's not many plants that are more beautiful.
It is.
And the aroma is beautiful. I don't even like smoking
Some
dope.
people hate the aroma, but I love it.
I like not the smell of smoked dope. I'm talking about the growing dope.
Right.
So I just have lived in Hawaii, and I think it would be epic. Because Hawaii lacks industries. I think once it's legal on the mainland, nationwide, it's going to boom in Hawaii. I picture
And in Hawaii, don't they have a really bad meth issue there as well?
Huge meth issue.
Get them switched.
Huge meth. And now heroin's showing up there.
I wouldn't doubt it. So we're talking about taxes. Like I said, I agree. I feel that the revenue on taxes is the biggest pro.
So we've talked about taxes recently, and that's a great point. Like, the figures that you would generate nationwide, you could instantly start looking at ways to give free college to people.
Well, see, it's saying that any retail or on-site sales of these products would be subject to a 10% tax, which is pretty much what the cigarettes are doing right now anyway.
That's a lot of fucking cheddar, folks. You're talking
about
cheddar.
So you think about it, you buy $100 worth of weed, that's $10 per 100.
So this is $10 million.
This is a multi-million, hundreds of $1 million business, possibly billion in the state.
Actually, look up that number. Can you pull that up? The marijuana industry number, they actually predict it to be bigger, I think. I read it at some point, bigger than the NFL. the industry. So look up the projections for the amount of money that will be generated from the marijuana industry. It is profound. I looked it up one time and I was like, wow, it's supposed to be bigger than the NFL. There will be more people vetted as millionaires from marijuana industry than any other industry in like the last 100 years. Because it's projections, of course, that if it becomes legal in the nation, that there's going to be more millionaires vetted from it, invested from it, than any other industries. Because there's going to be so much opportunity from the money being generated from the industry. There it is right up top.
30 billion.
U.S. marijuana sales may triple to 30 billion by 2023.
So right now we're at 10 billion, which is still more than the NFL.
So you're talking about an industry that will turn into a $30 billion industry. I used to trade the stocks on the market. They have some Canadian stock markets. They have Tilray. They have Aurora Cannabis. There's already some businesses being traded on the NASDAQ and the stock market that are marijuana businesses. They're just not located in the U.S. But ultimately, I think it's going to be a remarkable surge, and I think it is a really interesting industry to get into, because if you want to make a little slice of something, it's time to pay attention, folks, because this next 20 to 30 years, marijuana is going to represent a huge opportunity for you to make a shit ton of money in a very simple fashion.
Well, and it also says that...
And you're going to help people.
The industry could one day peak at 166 billion per year.
So now, if you talk about just getting a tenth of a percent, all you need is a tenth of a percent of that pie, and you're going to be. But I think the thing that's interesting about it for me is I believe in it. You know, I don't use it. I don't use drugs, but I believe in it. My mom died, so I have a strong belief behind medical marijuana and the legalization of it. Whether people want to audit and say that you're in recovery, that's wrong. I think it is the most beneficial substance on the market. I think there's more positives to come from it than any other substance or narcotic or medical medication or any medication. I think it's number one. If you replace narcotics with marijuana, if you replace alcohol with marijuana, I really believe in it. I really believe it would do more good in America than any other substance.
I agree. I mean, I'm in recovery as well. I've talked with my parents about this, and they know how I feel about it, and they've seen me when I smoke weed and stuff, that it is not an addictive thing for me. When I don't have it, I don't go out searching or pawning my shit off to try to get it. If I get it, I get it. A lot of times it's if I go to hang out with friends and they have it, I'll do it. It's not something that I crave. It's not something that I have to run out and get. I do like to have it from time to time. Of course, right now I'm in sober living and I can't do that because it's against the rules that way. But I don't look at marijuana when I look at methamphetamines and I look at alcohol and cocaine and all those other types of drugs. It is not on the same stage as those.
So what was that? It was 166 billion potentially, and what was it currently? 30 billion?
We're at 10 billion right now.
Yep, and it's likely to be 30?
It's going to be 30 billion by 2023, so it's going to triple that 10 billion. So the NFL makes the National Football League, or the No Fun League, as they like to call it, but the National Football League is $6 billion per year that they make. Marijuana at this time is at $10 billion.
And it's not even legal, folks.
And it's not even legal all the way across the union. They are going off what taxes are coming into the states, which those states that are legal pay taxes in the federal government as well.
But just wait until it's legal nationwide. That number's going to
That's why they're saying it could blow up to 166 billion, and that could be being very...
so if you got one...
That could be a low number.
So if you got a tenth of a percent, I don't have my phone on me, Del, but a 1% of 166 billion would be 1.6 billion, I believe.
That is correct.
So then that means 1/10 of a tenth of a... So that means 1/10 of a percent would be 160 million, I believe.
That would be correct. Let me take a look. But
so that would mean if I just get a tenth of a percent of the industry at some point when it blows up to its max, I would be looking at $160 million, which I believe is a tenth of a percent of 100. That's correct, I believe.
It is.
Yes.
It is. So you're looking at 160 million. I mean, that...
And for me, it's something I strongly believe in. So for me, I don't care what anyone says. If it did happen, I would be completely about getting in that industry. Now, you could argue that if I'm in recovery or if not... might be contradicting, and I agree to a certain extent, but it's like I'm not running an IOP, and I'm not running a sober house. But I just think that there's something to be said about legal marijuana and the good it can do is if it replaces all of the other substances. If we had a nation of people that were eating marijuana and vaping a little bit of dope once a day, like I really feel like there'd be a lot less fighting, a lot less. It's like the fighting versus uniting. I think if you move from everything else to dope, I just don't think it would be that. I think it would be positive. That's just my opinion.
Okay, so for 2019. It was already in June that this message or this story came out, so it had only been 6 months. Colorado in 2019, from January to June, passed $1 billion in marijuana state revenue. $
1 billion, folks.
How does that go to get put into the budget for the governor and for the state to be able to do with what they need to?
It sounds like you could even generate a UBI from that. I mean, you can pretty much do whatever you want from that. Like, these people talk about how the government doesn't have the money. When Trump says we don't have the money or we have a deficit, like, why don't you start looking at ways to generate more income in a more innovative fashion? Like, legalize marijuana nationwide.
And so far, Colorado, since it's come out in 2014, has earned more than $6 billion in total sales.
In Seattle has to be up there too.
It has to.
And now we're up to like 11 states, I think. I looked it up the other day at the hostel. Shout out to Hostel Due North.
Yeah, Illinois. Let's see here. We got Illinois. We got Washington, Alaska, Colorado, California, Maine, Massachusetts, Oregon, Vermont, Michigan, Nevada, and Washington, D.C. is also legalized marijuana sales now. So, and Illinois is the newest one that came in on January 1st.
So it's time to pay attention, folks, and sorry to say, but in the next 5 to 10 years, you're probably going to be looking at legal marijuana nationwide.
And you're just going to have to accept it. Now, I will say this, Kentucky and Arkansas will be the last 2 states to legalize it, especially when you got Arkansas with dry counties yet.
Arkansas and Kentucky, man. Anyone that lives in Arkansas and Kentucky, I feel for
I feel for you. I'm sorry.
But it's your choice.
Come check me up here in Minnesota.
You're probably better off homeless in Minnesota than you are in Kentucky and Arkansas.
Living down there.
I'm being honest with you.
You got more services that are available to you as a homeless person here than living down in Kentucky on your own.
Yeah, I'm not kidding you. I'm telling you the truth. Like
look at my face, people. I'm being serious.
Arkansas and Kentucky I agree with you, Del. It's just so interesting how many states are so slow to change.
They don't care about you there. They don't.
So slow.
I have lived there. I know it. I lived for 4 years and almost 6 months in Arkansas, 4 years in Kentucky. I know. I've lived there. I know how it is. They don't care. I feel like Kanye West right now. Kentucky doesn't care.
It's like a state
about
that's
people
stuck in quicksand. Del is so right. He's so right. It's like literally, I couldn't believe when I went there. I was like, where am I?
It's like, am I in the 1950s here?
I was like, where am I? Is this America? I couldn't believe it.
Some of the most racist people I've ever seen in my life. Homophobic.
It's bizarre. It's literally like they haven't caught on. It's like literally, Del, they haven't caught on.
Don't you come into my state and take me and my rights and tell me how I'm supposed to believe. I'm going to be a racist in the rest of my life with my Confederate flag. You know, I'm going to be all about that, and that you better get off my porch.
Paducah, Kentucky, real story. There was a guy. There was literally a 1 block in Paducah, Kentucky, where there was guys that sold secondhand booze, and like they literally their front porch was they would peddle crack, they would peddle cocaine, they would peddle like Bud Light.
There's so many stills. There's so many stills up. You get up into the holla.
It is so hood.
You get up in the holla of West Virginia and Kentucky up in there where you don't even want to go up there because if they catch you up there, they'll shoot you.
You're done.
Because you don't want to be around their still. But you get up there, they got those stills up there. They're making moonshine constantly. They wonder why they act the way they do when they're frying their brain with that 300 proof
alcohol.
Oh my God! It's just straight alcohol. Drink some rubbing alcohol; it'll probably have the same effect.
It's remarkable, Del. I think it's really interesting when you start to see, and that's one of the things I recommend for me that helped me the most is living different places. I started to realize how amazing it is, but I just can't believe how rigid some places are. That's why I like talking about it. I just can't get over it. It's time to grow, change, and evolve, and our politics are the last.
Well, and I want to say this just to end it. Now, don't get me wrong. I've got friends in Kentucky that
I don't got none.
I absolutely love them.
I don't got none.
They are not the way I'm saying that they are, and they're from Kentucky, and they have that southern drawl, but they're not that way. They do not believe that way. Don't take their gun away. Don't do that. That'll be an issue. But they're not racist. They're not homophobic. They believe in everyone being able to live and enjoying life and have happiness and freedom. So there are people there that are not that way, but damn it, the majority of them, unfortunately, Kentucky, it's time to change.
And Mitch McConnell's a great example of it.
I mean, you look at, him and who's the other guy that's in office that, is it Rand?
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple politicians that are out of Kentucky that are on the news all the time. They don't care about anyone but their race and what they've got going on for them.
And then if you look at the jails down there, sorry to say, folks, it's modern day slavery.
It is. The jails, both me and JR have been in and out down there. And the jails there, I have never seen such piss poor.
It is modern day slavery, folks.
I mean, I get it. I'm committed a crime, but I should feel
you're entitled to rights.
You're right, and I should feel like I'm safe.
You're not safe.
If I'm going to a jailhouse where there's the police, I should feel like I'm safe. And the thing is, I don't even feel safe by the police.
Listen to this.
What a common thing that's going around right now, not feeling safe around police.
The most assaulted I've ever been was by a correctional officer in Paducah County. Listen, when I was in there, the head jailer, Tiffany, what was her rate? I could Google it. She was in her own jail. Listen.
Oh, I bet that was fun for her.
The head jailer, when I was in the jail in Paducah County, was in her own jail because she took PC inmates, protective custody, and specifically released them to be assaulted in a cell. That's the jail I was staying in Paducah County. PC inmates were being released to be assaulted in a cell. And she got arrested and jailed as the head jailer for doing just that. That's the jail I was in. So they were taking protective custody inmates and having them assaulted in a jail cell.
Well, I remember living in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I've been arrested there twice for being drunk in public.
What's her name? I want to look that up.
Yeah, go ahead and do that while I'm doing this. Being drunk in public. I got the reputation down there with the police where they would literally follow me around, just waiting for me to buy a bottle of booze or do something of that nature. Where are my rights in that? Do I not have the right to walk and if I want to go buy a bottle of booze? I do. I have the right. They would literally pull up to me and go, "Mr. Bacon, how you doing? You're not drinking today, are you?" They were just waiting to pick me up to throw me in there to get more money out of me. Another arrest on their record. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Tanya Ray, a former Kentucky jailer, has been sentenced to spend a year in jail after being convicted of perjury. Graves County Circuit Judge Tim Stark told former Cracken County jailer Tanya Ray during her sentencing on Thursday that public officials have to be held accountable. The Paducah Sun reported.
Bring that up.
I was in this jail, folks, when it happened. I was literally circled and assaulted. I had to fight I fought like 22 times.
What's her name?
Tanya Ray. I was in jail for just over 8 months. I had to fight 22 times. I was literally taken from a cell. So I showed up in jail there, and I specifically asked, once I had to fight all these guys all these times, I'm like, "Hey, could you please," they're like, "We gotta transfer you, you're fighting too much." I'm like, "Can you keep me away from these guys? Because we fought like 22 times already." They took me and put me with those guys. More of them. They literally were forcing people to fight.
Oh, there's a picture of her.
She's the epitome of disgusting.
There's the picture of her. You like seeing that picture?
It doesn't upset me really, but it was scary. It was scary times, folks. You talk about fighting 1 on 12, 1 on 13, 1 on 14, being assaulted by jailers.
2017, a deputy jailer, Ben Green, was accused of moving 19 inmates who were classified in productive custody into general population. Some of the inmates later claimed that they were attacked during the transfer.
During the transfer. So this is exactly what happened to me. I was taken and switched from one cell to another, and the COs assaulted me in the hallway. They bounced my head off the concrete wall. And then when I audited the video for it, I went to jail, and I tried to repeal. I was representing myself. I have submitted a legal form for the video of this, and they won't even let me submit the subpoena for the information.
So what they did is they charged her with being a accessory to it because she turned a blind eye to it, and then she lied and said she didn't know anything about it.
She was the head jailer when it happened.
Right, that she didn't know nothing about it, and then it came out that she did, and then her attorneys were trying to say, well, she made a mistake. It was an honest mistake because when she took over as jailer, the jail was in shambles and she was trying to fix it.
This, folks, is the epitome of Kentucky right here.
It's always past the buck.
She said it was a mistake that she was the head jailer and protective custody inmates were being assaulted during transfer and after transfer.
Because she didn't know anything about it and she was in the middle of trying to fix the issue.
These are the kind of people that jail people for marijuana and then have this kind of shit happen to them. It's just insane. Firsthand, Tanya Ray, I audit you and I audit the state of Kentucky. You guys need some major, major changes.
There's some overhauls that are needing, but she ended up getting a year for that perjury.
I was literally in the jail at the time that happened. You talk about scary, folks? You're in a jail where people are being assaulted by the correctional officers and the head jailer, ordering people to be assaulted. I mean, if that's not insane, I don't know what else is. And this stuff doesn't get enough attention, sorry to say. I'm glad we're giving it some attention because it is the facts, ladies and gentlemen. And then I stood up in the court of law in Kentucky, Paducah, Kentucky. I stood in front of the judge, and I submitted a written motion to subpoena the video because there was so much crazy shit going on, and they wouldn't even let me file the motion. They denied the motion. The videotape, they said, was gone. 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 The video's gone, they said, Mr. Wierman. You can't... I stood up in the court of law in Kentucky...
Sorry about that.
Insane. I literally submitted a motion. They knew what I was doing. They just didn't want to submit it because if I had the video released, you know what my plan was? I had realized what was going on. I was going to play the tape from 2 weeks of me on that cell block and show the whole courtroom what was going on in the jail for 2 weeks, which was people with no slippers, people with no toothpaste, people with no toilet paper. They were making us strip naked and take our clothes and go wash them because they didn't have a laundry system. They were making us stand naked in the jail cell while they washed our clothes.
I remember being in a jail cell there in Bowling Green one time I was in there. And first off, there's no windows, can't see anything. It's not like the Dakota County one that I was in. It was all open window that they can see in and you can see out. There, you're locked in a room with no windows, no way to look in and out. You're just locked in this concrete block cell. There is nowhere to sit. I mean, the sitting, it's like 2 inches of concrete up off the main floor, and it's like a little lay-down area. It's nasty. It's dirty. It's cold. The toilet I was in would not flush. So there was shit all in there, and get this, where the drinking water comes off that sink and toilet right there. So
right above it.
If you want to get a drink, you got to go over and smell shit as you're getting water. It was, and I complained about it, and this is what they said to me literally when I complained about it. You're just going to have to deal with it, Mr. Bacon.
So there would be something great to start one day where if there's somehow we can have a neutral arbitrator that just goes in randomly. Say you have a team of people that starts going around and going into these jails and auditing. Because there's federal laws. I watched it happen, though, where I was in there and they were breaking all these federal laws.
Right.
And then they know that they have someone coming through from the Fed, and they clean up and they start releasing people,
right.
And then they let them go, and then they start meeting the rules, and then they have less people, they let people go, and then the people come through and they audit it, and it's good. It's good to go. They're meeting the rules. But then when they leave, now they go back to mass jailing and breaking the rules, and then they know because they know when they're coming.
Well, and there's a movie, and I suggest everyone to watch it. It's one of mine and my mother's favorite movie. It's got Robert Redford in it. It's called Brubaker. It was made back in the 1970s. It is based on a true story of a warden that is getting ready to take over a prison in Mississippi. And he goes in as a inmate before he takes over to see the corruption. He had been told that it was a corrupt prison, and so he went in undercover as an inmate to see what was going on. And he ended up getting thrown into a spot where he was going to get his ass beat by the correctional officers, and he finally comes up and says, I don't think you want to do that. I'm your new warden. And they're like, oh, bullshit. And he's like, no, I think you need to call the governor right now because you're beating up your new warden.
It's a great point. It's just our jails need a lot of auditing.
And so he goes in and he cleans house.
And if there's ever a day where I have Wierman Media has a shit ton of money and me and Del Bacon have money, you know, you're gonna start seeing shit like this happen. We're gonna do good with my money. Like when the day comes, I promise you, I assure you that I will start doing this kind of shit because I'm about stirring shit up and making shit change. And like if I have the money, you're damn right I'm gonna start going and this shit would be awesome to start changing because it is absolute private funding, manipulation of the most. I was there. I couldn't believe it, Del. There was people that couldn't read and write that were being manipulated. It's just the saddest story ever. The people in jails are the people being manipulated the most, and they're the most vulnerable people in the country. They're the ones that come from broken homes, broken families, lack of education, lack of guidance, lack of direction, no positive, healthy support, and they're being jailed and imprisoned, and it's all about the fucking money. It has nothing to do with them and improving them or building them up.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with it. So we should probably wrap it up.
Right.
No?
So Brubaker, just to give a little bit more out there, accomplices to the crime, the Arkansas prison. It's Arkansas.
Is this a true story?
It is. It's based off a book called The Accomplices to the Crime, the Arkansas Prison Scandal.
Super
so it's
cool.
based off the prison scandals that they've had in Arkansas. But
Super
it's
cool.
Wakefield State Prison in Arkansas, and he comes in undercover to show the corruption, open and sexual assault, torture, worm-ridden, diseased food, insurance fraud. Doctors were charging the inmates for care. And he came in there and he cleaned it up. They also found that they were killing prisoners and burying them in pauper graves behind the prison. Over 200 inmates.
If this isn't modern-day slavery...
It was at that. I mean, when you look at it, 1969, they were still doing slave shit. It was like the chain gang.
People just don't realize that the shit's still present.
Yeah.
It's still real.
So his whole point was he went in there to reform it and to fight the governor and go in there and reform it. And it's just a great movie. You need to check it out. It's probably one of Robert Redford's best. So anyway, we'll go ahead and we'll close it out. It was a good show.
It was a great show.
We've been rolling for quite a while here, but I want to thank everybody out there for definitely tuning in and watching us and your comments and listening to our podcast. I am the Recovery Atheist. You can subscribe to me at the YouTube channel, The Recovery Atheist. Find me on Instagram and on Twitter, The Recovery Atheist. Email me at therecoveryatheist@gmail.com. And the biggest one I'm sending out to you outside of my Facebook page, which is Del Bacon, is the Spotify. I'm directly on Spotify right now. You can go right into the search engine, put in The Recovery Atheist, and I'll be right on the top there, and you can listen to our beautifully polished, edited podcast done by my friend JR here. He does an amazing job with that. So I'll pass it on to JR.
Yeah, folks, I love you. I love this conversation. I love it, Dill. Thanks for being in and being on the studio and always bringing your A game and bringing topics. Ultimately, at Wierman Media, we are making content that is fast, fluid, flexible content for the modern day. It's not right. It's not wrong. It's our perspective.
Peace.
Peace.